is I have to barricade this door. Like there was instinct that kicked in. So what you can't see is right around that corner, there was this huge filing cabinet.
And I think if we can point, so to the, around that corner to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I grab it because I'm afraid to go back towards the door at this point in time. And I try to move it, thinking maybe I can pull it out enough and push it. And it was just too heavy for me. So that rolling cart was sitting next to it. That's when I pulled out the rolling cart and no, sorry, I take that back.
It's okay.
I didn't do that yet.
Take your time.
I crawled down on my hands and knees and I put that night lock in. And then I moved for the rolling. I was like, I just have to keep barricading. And so I grabbed the rolling cart.
Is the object in the
Yeah, you can see it's the little red object on the rolling cart. Yep.
Oh, that's the night lock.
Yes.
Okay, but that, it's sitting on that's the rolling cart, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, and were you able to put it in front of the door?
I was able to put the rolling cart in front of the door, correct.
Okay, and then what did you do?
Then the only thing I can think of is he's gonna come back and finish what he wanted to do.
Did you hear anything else in the hallway?
At this point, I'm not hearing anything.
Okay. And so what did you do?
So I go back to that large cabinet because I know if I'm anywhere in the back of this room, he can see. So I need to hide in this front corner. And so I pull that, that large filing cabinet back just enough to crawl behind it so that if he comes to that window, he can't see where I'm at.
So the way the classrooms are is you have to be at a certain angle to see certain parts of the room from the hallway, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you said you moved to that corner behind because what?
Because I didn't want him to see where I was at.
Okay. Once you were behind the cabinet, were you sitting?
I was crouched down. I was trying to make myself as small as possible. Right, I got really low. I was on my bottom, crouched as close together physically as I could make myself.
Okay. What did you do next?
I had texted my husband, I love you, active shooter. And then I started feeling blood dripping down my arm.
What did you do?
At
this point, had you registered that you had been shot?
I don't think I was registering that I was shot. I just knew that I was bleeding.
Okay. What did you do?
I had a cardigan on that day, and so you can see in the photo there's this red little bag on the side, on the right side of the wall. Those are those are medical response bags that we keep in every room. So if someone's bleeding or if a tourniquet's needed, they're in there, but I was too afraid to go back and grab it. So so at that point I knew I needed to put a tourniquet on. I knew I was bleeding. I removed my cardigan and I used one of the sleeves of the arm, wrapped it up on top and pulled with one arm and my teeth with the other to tighten it.
And Molly, how many inches down was that wound?
It sits right here.
Okay. And you brought a cardigan so that you could show the jury what that looks like so they know exactly where you were hit?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you can all see okay, but
you can step down if you feel comfortable doing so.
Can everyone see? I can see. Yeah.
So you can see it kind of sits in the back. So when I was turned, that was the entrance and the exit.
And there's two holes there.
Yep. So it entered here, it exited here, and the space in between the heat of the bullet cauterized
The skin.
the skin.
Okay. You can sit back down. You put the tourniquet where on your shoulder?
I put it above the wound.
Okay. How'd you know how to do that?
We go through trainings once a year regarding what to do.
Okay.
You know, in the situation.
What happened next?
I put the tourniquet on, and I'm in my head. I'm thinking, okay, what do I do next? What's like the next move here? And my daughter texts me She didn't go to Oxford High School, but she went to a neighboring school district. And they had heard through social media that there was a shooting at Oxford High School. And so she sent me a message that just said, Mom, are you okay? And I responded to her that I love you. I'm sheltered in place. And I'm fine.
You didn't tell her you were hit?
I did not tell her I was shot, no.
Molly, I want to go back, and I'm so sorry. When the shooter raised his hand, what were your what did you notice about, if you noticed anything about his stance, or you said you locked eyes?
Yeah, his feet were set about hip distance apart. And that's, you know, he was, and his shoulders were like, he was square, right? He was square.
How long were you in that classroom?
I was in there for about 20 minutes.
Were you communicating with anyone else in the school, or law enforcement or administration?
No, there were a couple teachers. My hallway had a text thread, and that was not active. There was nobody texting on that. But another part of the building where the English Language Arts department is at, they were texting. And one of them said, I heard there was a shooter. And I responded that I saw one.
Did you respond that I've been shot?
I did not.
Why is that?
I think I didn't want to like create panic. Like I wanted to make sure that people knew it was serious, but there's no, like, I'm okay.
Okay. At this point, did you have any idea where the shooter was, if anyone else had been hurt? What were you hearing? Anything?
Nothing. And it was absolute silence for a long time. And then I started to hear a volume of footsteps. And I thought, they must be evacuating a classroom. And so when that shift occurred, I texted the teacher next door and I said, hey, you're the only one that knows right now, but I've been shot. I hope I'm the only one.
How long was that? How long were you in the room?
At that point, it was probably 18 minutes.
Okay. At some point, did somebody ask you to leave the classroom?
Yes. So the teacher next door was like, oh my gosh, I'm calling the office. There was another teacher in the room with her who texted administration.
Okay. And at some point, did somebody come to the door?
Yep, so the text from administration, Kurt Noose was at my door within maybe 2 minutes. Time's hard on that. And he was like knocking, Molly, are you in there? I've known Kurt Noose since they started in Oxford. I did not trust that was him at my door.
What were you afraid that it was?
I don't know. Everything that I knew to be reality wasn't.
So did you answer him back, or did you open the door, or did you just remain silent?
I said, I'm in here, and he said, are you okay? I don't remember how I responded. It was within a second or two that then there were police at the door, and they were like, are you in here? Are you injured? I said, yes. And then I think I said, do you want me to, it was clear that they wanted me to, like, they were there for me.
And they couldn't just open the door.
They can't just open that door. That night lock prevents them from getting in the door.
And Molly, if you know, how would you get into that room if someone doesn't remove the night lock from the inside? Is there a way?
So I know there's a special tool to use, but you'd have to take everything off that door, and that's all steel.
So the frame, actually?
Yes.
And so they were asking you to remove the night lock. Did you do that?
I said, do you want me to remove the night lock? And they said, yes, remove the night lock. And then I said, do you want me to open the door? And they said, yes, open the door. And I'm down on the ground while I'm doing all of this. Like, I'm removing the night lock and I'm opening up the door from my knees. And they like scoop me up, and I can see the two officers that scoop me up, but I can see Kurt standing there against the lockers. And I can see 4 cops with guns.
Did you see any students?
I did not see any students, no.
Okay, Molly, I'm gonna play a surveillance, which is marked People's Exhibit 7, which I know there's an objection to, but the judges previously ruled. Just to let the jury know, you're not gonna see any victims in this, except for Molly, and nor are you going to see any students.
Can everybody see?
While he's getting that on the monitor, when you say you saw 2 officers with guns, how far away were they? And were they in the same direction?
They were, when they scooped me up, the 2 that scooped
Okay,
me
I'm gonna
up.
stop you. Look here.
Yep.
Is that the hallway?
That's the hallway.
Okay.
So you can see there's multiple around, so it wasn't just the 2.
Where's your classroom in this photo?
It's farther down, right? So you can see, like they're going inwards towards the classroom.
Okay.
It looks like that's an officer there.
Okay.
So I knew that they were officers based on the vests that they were wearing. And so they were just around, right, as well, like securing the area, I suppose.
All right, can you press play? Is that you, Molly?
That is me.
At this point, are you hearing anything in the building?
No, everything is silent, like almost like it's like echoey. It's so silent.
Okay, now you can see through that glass door. Is that you?
That is me.
What's happening?
He's removing the self-made tourniquet from my cardigan. He's putting on an actual tourniquet.
Okay, and at some point you get into an ambulance, correct?
Yes, so at this point, he says, I'm gonna radio to see if there's an ambulance available for you. Making sure that no one else needed it ahead of me.
Okay. You eventually get into an ambulance. They take you where?
They took me to Lapeer.
What happened when you got there?
So I get to Lapeer, and the doctor comes out to the ambulance and introduces himself. And they said, I was sitting in the ambulance the entire time, and then they said, we're gonna put you on the gurney. And I said, I can walk. Like, if I can walk, I wanna walk. And so they helped me out of the ambulance, and I walk in, and they're like steadying, like kind of almost holding me up, steadying me. And the hallways are lined with doctors and nurses.
Did you see any other victims?
I did not, no.
Okay. And they treated your wound?
They did.
Okay. Were you able to I assume they ran some tests. I want to be cognizant of the judge's prior ruling about what you can testify to. But at what point, how long were you at the hospital?
I have no idea what time I walked in those doors.
Okay.
I was there for several hours.
Did you learn at some point there were other victims?
I did ask when I was in the hospital, is anybody else been injured? And I was, I was told that there were other victims and a few fatalities, yes.
Okay, at some point, did you hear a teacher was shot?
I did.
And what did you think?
I instantly thought it was another one of my colleagues. I knew the direction that I saw him turn, so I knew what direction he came.
And who was the teacher now?
I thought it was Lauren Jasinski that was shot.
But who was the teacher they referred to?
It was me.
At some point, you were shown weeks later a picture of your doorway.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay, do you remember who showed that to you?
No.
Okay, was it me?
I did. Well, I did see. I did see it in your office. Yes.
Okay, and you were preparing to testify.
Yes.
I'm gonna put that picture on the screen. It's People's Exhibit 8. I don't think there's a objection.
Any objection?
There's no objection.
8 submitted.
Molly, is that your classroom door?
That is my. Yes.
Okay. What was your reaction when you saw that?
He was aiming to kill me.
Do you know which one of those shots landed in your shoulder?
I don't. I have no idea which one landed on my shoulder, but I know the top one. That's where my head would have been, and the two down below are my chest area.
Okay.
I unlock that door every day.
And what was your? Did you have some? What is your, when you think about the wound and why you weren't hit? Why was it in the chest?
That door, the distance, the door, and me moving was the only reason that I'm alive.
How many inches from your heart was that that injury to your shoulder?
The actual wound is 6 inches, but my turn might have made it less.
Thank you. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Ross?
I have no questions further.
Can this witness be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, please. You can step down and you're excused. All right. Who's the next witness?
Christy Gibson, Marshall.
Okay. And we had a discussion about the boundaries of her testimony. I don't know if we put that on the record. Do we need to or not?
We've prepared her, Your Honor.
Okay.
We understand it's not another hearing, we know it's a trial.
Okay. All right. The media is asking whether or not they can videotape tape the video. I don't see a reason why they can't, right?
No, there's no minors.
Oh, okay. I want to make sure.
Oh, Judge actually has one in this portion.
Oh, yes, in this portion. We'll indicate which
Right.
which videos can be shown.
Okay. Yeah, give them a heads up so they know.
I'm mostly concerned with giving a heads up to the jury so everyone's prepared.
And then, Your Honor, again, the defense objects to, I believe it's just one exhibit you're using with Ms. Gibson.
Oh, with this witness?
I believe it's only exhibit
No.
9.
Yeah. Well, this was previously extensively briefed.
Yes.
And, I made a red ruling about it. Yeah. But your objections are good.
Thank you.
People call Christy Gibson Marshall.
Good morning. Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God? All right, please be seated, and then would you state your name for the record and spell your first and last name?
Christy Gibson Marshall, KRISTYGIBSON-MARSHALL.
Go ahead, prosecutor.
Thank you. Good morning. May I call you Christy?
Yes,
Christy, could you please tell the jury where you're employed?
Oxford Community Schools,
How long have you been with Oxford?
29 years.
And what do you do right now?
I'm an assistant principal
Okay. And that's at the high school?
at high school.
How long have you been the assistant principal at the high school?
6 years.
And what did you do before that?
I was an elementary principal.
Also in Oxford District?
Yes.
Now, if you could tell the jury a little bit about your role as an assistant principal. What are some of your responsibilities?
Teacher supervision, evaluation, curriculum and instruction, supervising. I do parent communications. It's hard to think of all the stuff that's my big giant list while I'm sitting here, but we have a student relations team that works together to support our alphabet, part of the alphabet. Big goal is, like, to me, my biggest role is supporting students, and I love the kids, so just bringing energy and having fun with them.
You've been in education, you said, for 29 years?
Yeah, yes.
So up until this role, you were an elementary school principal?
I was, and then prior to that, I was a teacher.
Teacher before that, okay. Now, as it happens, the school that you were principal at was Jennifer Crumbley's son, one of those students.
Yes,
And what grades, if you recall, was he there?
4th and 5th.
Did you have any contact with him in your role as a principal in those 4th and 5th grade years? Did you have any contact with his mother or father?
Not that I remember. I had an email about a report card once, but that's all I remember.
And that would have been years prior?
Like 5th grade going to 6th.
Now, I'd like to direct your attention to November the 30th of 2021, about 12:50 in the afternoon. So we have the screen in front of you. That should be displaying People's Exhibit 5. This is a map of the Oxford High School.
Yes.
If you could tell us, if you recall, where you were about 12:50 in the afternoon that day.
I was in the cafeteria. I started in the cafeteria supervising lunches. So what would be, I guess, they're the commons.
So right
Yes,
here?
correct.
Okay. So was that lunchtime while you were there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
And is there a time where you moved? So around that time on November the 30th, did you have a specific area of the school you would go to, or did you move around?
We didn't have an assigned area, but I like to go to the senior courtyard after lunches and just kind of help see that courtyard area.
Okay.
The hallway out in front of this courtyard area between where you see 400 and 401.
Okay.
Our seniors hang out there and they congregate in a good way, not terrible. Let me just clarify. It's kind of like their rite of passage, and we just like to kind of go there and keep traffic flowing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something you would do on a routine basis?
Yeah, my bad mom joke on that one is that I make it a senior citizen window and I stand in that area.
Was there a point that day when you realized something was going wrong?
When I was approaching the senior courtyard, so when I was coming down the hallway from the commons, what says commons, I call it cafeteria, by the media center, by the courtyard, and hit the 500 room. When I kind of got to that triangle there, that diamond there, one of the students that I know pretty well, went running by and said, "Get the hell out of here." And he was laughing and running, and I was like, that was a mixed message.
Sure. At that point, was there an announcement on the loudspeaker?
No, not at that point, no,
Okay.
no.
Was he the only one running?
Shortly after him, there was a group of kids laughing and running behind him. When I stopped to ask them what was going on, they weren't entirely sure. But as kids started to pass, you could see it got more serious.
Okay.
I grabbed my walkie-talkie and
What do you mean it got more serious? What do you mean by that?
their faces got more, I'm sorry, their faces became more serious.
Okay. Did that signify something to you when you saw that?
Yeah, just something, them running signified something to me because it's not a typical behavior.
Okay.
But the running and laughing was confusing, and then when their faces became more serious, I was started to get very worried, and that's when I grabbed my walkie-talkie.
What'd you do with your walkie-talkie?
I said, "I'm not sure what's happening, but kids are running in the hallway," which is very odd, and look like they're trying to leave the building.
So where did you go?
They shortly after I got on the walkie, they went to Alice Alert, and so
What's Alice Alert?
Alice Alert is our intruder. I'm gonna call it intruder alert because that's what it was that day. But it's a notice that we need to take cover, lock down, be aware. It's
So
an
is that
emergency assistance.
An alarm ringing, or is that somebody who's giving a message over the PA system?
On that day, it was a message over PA system.
Do you recall who gave that message?
Steve Wolf.
Who was that?
She is our principal.
Who's the principal? Okay. So, is this shortly after you saw the students leaving that appeared to be more serious to you?
Practically the same. Yeah, it was like when the more serious students came by, the announcement went on.
Okay. Now, when you hear that announcement, what were you supposed to do?
Supposed to lock down.
Did you?
No.
What did you do?
I went to check the hallways to make sure people were okay.
When you first started to check the hallways, did you see anybody?
The hallways cleared so fast. When I made the turn down the 400 hallway, I ran into a teacher who was locking his door, and then a student came up who was running late. He asked if it was a drill. I let him know that it didn't matter if it was a drill or not, just you gotta get covered in there. And then I proceeded down the hallway. I was the only one in the hallway at that point.
Did you hear anything?
First, I smelled something. I smelled what I thought was cap gun.
Okay.
Later, figured out it was gunpowder. And then I heard two gunshots.
Where were you when you first smelled what you thought to be cap gun?
Probably by like the somewhere between 409 and 414.
So you were continuing to walk down that hallway, the 400 hallway, towards the 200 hallway. That's in yellow highlight.
Yes, that's where I heard the gunshots. I was going that direction.
You were walking towards the gunshots.
Yes.
As you walked down the hallway, did you see anybody else?
No.
Tell me where you went.
When I got to the end of the hallway, I realized how dumb this is. I turned left to go towards where I heard the gunshots.
So this hallway,
And I went towards 225.
so you came down the 400 hallway and you turned left towards 225.
Yes.
Tell us what you saw when you made a left.
I saw a student laying on the ground.
Do you know who he was?
I didn't at that time, no.
Okay.
His face was covered. And then as I continued a couple of steps, I could see another student walking my direction. He had just dropped his arm was up and then he dropped his arm.
Did you recognize him?
Not at that point, no. He was too far away.
What did you do when you saw a student on the ground?
There was a garbage can between he and I, so I moved the garbage can out of the way. And I put my foot near him and nudged him and told him to stay there.
Did he respond?
No.
Could you tell if he was injured at that point?
You could tell he was injured.
What happened next?
Ethan then came into closer view, and I could tell it was Ethan.
He had been at the school where you were principal?
Yes.
Did you interact with him at all at Oxford High School?
Just normal, like how I interact with everybody, high fives, hugs, silly stuff that I do.
Okay.
I brought my elementary to the high school, you know, so I just.
Did you say anything to him?
When he got close enough to me that I could, we were sharing the hallway, so he was kind of walking down the center and I was kind of over to the side, so we're probably 3 feet apart. I asked him if he's okay. It just didn't seem right that it would be him.
So I need to back up just a little bit. When you didn't know who it was at first, the student down the hallway, you said he had lowered his arm.
I knew it was a shooter when he was down the hallway.
Okay. Could you see if he was holding anything?
I could see a gun.
At that point, was he walking towards you or away from you?
He's walking towards me. It was when I realized it was Ethan that I didn't think he could possibly be the shooter is what happened. I know I said I knew he was a shooter down there because I could rationalize that is a gun. He is putting that gun down. He just shot something.
Okay. Now, I know this is difficult, but I need you to use your teacher voice and speak
Okay.
as loud as you can. Thank you. You saw him coming towards you. How far from him were you when you recognized who it was?
He was probably by the room 220 when I could tell who he was.
Okay.
And I was standing between 226 and that white section there there's exit doors there.
Now, you said you said something to him?
Yeah, it seemed so odd that it was him, so I said, "Buddy, are you okay? What's going on?" And when he didn't respond to me and he looked away, that's when I knew it was him, that he was the shooter.
Did he point the gun at you?
He did not.
What did you do at that point?
I got on the walkie and I told my team that I have eyes on a shooter and I have a victim.
Now this hallway, 200 hallway, there's a curve to it.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And he was walking, if we followed the mouse cursor here, he's walking down the 200 hallway towards 233 and 237?
Yeah, he was walking that direction.
That direction?
Yes.
Did you watch where he went?
No.
What did you do?
There was a student who was injured, so I went to him. I knew he needed.
And I know you're aware, but there's been certain rulings by the court, so just in general terms, did you render aid to that student?
I did.
Could you tell if he was injured at that point?
Yes.
Did you recognize him?
Yeah, I knew another one of my students from Lakeville. Tate Muir. Just took my breath away.
Were you were on the walkie-talkie, you said?
Yes. So I let them know I had eyes on the shooter and that I had a victim. Kurt News asked me where I was. It's probably the biggest hallway we have, and I said I was in the 200 hallway. Kurt let me know that that's a very big hallway and needed more direction. I don't know why I couldn't process the fact that, like, my exact location, I told him I was near the 400.
Okay. Did you stay with Tate until help arrived?
Yes.
Now, you have seen at least a portion of the Oxford High School surveillance video, is that right?
Yes.
I'm gonna show you what's been marked as People's 9, it's been admitted. It cannot be broadcast on the media.
All of it? I've never seen it, so you have to tell me.
Oh, the entire, this is a short clip of it, none of it can be recorded.
Okay. You have, okay, so you guys are not video, okay, everybody gets it? You're gonna stop the live stream? Should we stop the live stream?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right.
I do want to give notice to jury.
I'm sorry, is the prosecution,
Further question?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I like can't think straight.
Oh, yeah, I think he said that he's
Yes.
finished, yeah.
Okay. I have no questions for you, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Can this one is
Yes, you can step down and you're excused. Who's the next witness?
It's Cammy Back.
Jenna, is there any way we can have like a minute?
Say it again.
I'm like so sorry, can we just have a minute, like a break or we have a 10-minute break, please?
Oh, sure. Sure, I'm gonna give you a 10-minute break, okay?
All rise for the jury.
Okay. You are on the record. And you
Your
were,
Honor, this court, upon the defense's request, instructed the prosecutors not to show emotion. You instructed the prosecutors to tell our witnesses not to show emotion, and you instructed
I don't
us to
think that's
let our
what it
victims
I don't
know.
think that's actually what
I
I said.
understand the ruling, Your Honor, I do.
Yeah.
You're concerned about influence of the jury.
Yeah.
I take no issue with it, but it was a difficult thing. It's difficult, and we're doing it. And then to have not just the defendant, her lawyer sit there sobbing so that
I did not sob.
I just want to finish, Your Honor. I just want to finish. I think if that is the instruction, we are trying really hard to respect the court's instruction because I understand the reason for it.
Okay, I didn't tell people not to show emotion. Some of that is involuntary. But there have been times in this courtroom during trials when people will show facial expressions or things like that, or make comments. I understand this is a very emotional situation for everyone here, right? If someone was audibly sobbing in the audience, I would hope that they would exit. And as you said, the reason for it. I didn't tell anybody not to show emotion. I guess some emotion is involuntary. So I guess I'm asking what you're asking of me.
I think it should apply to both sides.
Your Honor, first of all, I was not sobbing, and this is horrific. This is horrific.
I've never seen this before.
It's
Okay.
horrific. That's
Okay.
why we asked the court not to play it. This is horrific. I don't know how the prosecutor.
Okay, this is
She's
so-
watched it 100 times
I've never seen
with
it.
these witnesses. It's horrific.
You've had this video for over 2 years.
I don't know. I don't have this video. I have to go to their office to watch it.
You've seen it.
No, I haven't, because it's not necessary. It's not relevant to my client's case. We've already litigated this, but we're doing our best. We were not sobbing or making a scene in any way. All my eye makeup's still on. I check my camera.
I'm not having.
I need to run to the bathroom. I need a break.
Okay, we're having a break, that's what we're doing, and you gotta keep your voices down, because
I'm sorry.
the walls are cardboard in here, so,
I'm sorry.
okay. All right, everyone here is human, right? Everyone here is human, I understand that, I'm striving really hard to give both sides a fair trial, and if people don't at least try to check themselves, to exit if it's that excruciating, which I know it is. I'm not a robot. I'm trying to keep myself from sobbing. I'll do it at 6 o'clock tonight, okay?
I appreciate that, Your Honor, that's all I'm asking.
Okay,
That's all I'm
Your
asking.
Honor, we don't have the option to leave the courtroom. We're trying our best. I promise you, we are trying our best.
all right.
Thank
all right.
you.
Everybody needs to take a deep breath. She has to go downstairs, right? And we're gonna call you right, have her come, right? How long do you think the next witness is? I'm bringing lunch in for the
Next
juries.
witness is Cammy Back. I anticipate very brief questioning.
Okay, because I'm having their lunch delivered, so they don't have to commingle with people in the cafeteria.
It should be less than 30 minutes, so
Okay,
it'll work out.
all right,
Are we gonna break then after that witness?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes.
Great. I apologize.
No, it's natural, it's horrifying, it's
horrifying.
it is horrifying. But
We're trying.
okay.
We'll keep trying.
All right.
So, right. The last witness is like, it's easy, it's not emotional, it's Cammy Back. Let me see that, let me find out if there's any objections to exhibits. Hang on 1 second. I'll let the court know when they come in to, there's an objection on these ones.
I'm waiting for the
And
prosecutor.
this is gonna be not emotional. No, it's, no. It's fine.
The witness is being brought up.
Okay, I wanted to let you know that my amateur media consultant, AKA my husband, says that he can hear conversations between Miss Smith and her client at the table. And I think we talked to the camera person maybe about not recording when we're not in here, but I just wanted to let you know that.
Okay.
So maybe, I don't know if you can write what you're saying to each other, or if there's
Is
a
that
way.
when we're on the record that they're hearing it, or is it when we're,
Both, well, yeah, so,
okay, is there any way I can move the microphone, do we need it?
I don't know, that is so not my department, I still own my 8-track, so.
You may have the microphone on the podium.
Yeah.
Your clerk has asked me to kill audio when we are in session, so I'll do that from now on.
Oh, okay, so, but when we're in session, audio's on, so I don't know,
Is this the microphone that's catching it?
I don't think that's it.
There's a microphone on the back of the podium?
Is it this one?
Yes.
I guess it would have to be,
Oh, it's this one.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I need to be able to talk to my client. I can't only write notes with her and
okay,
I
I guess I
can't-
don't know what to say.
When we're off session, I've been asked to turn them off, and I will.
okay, when we're on the record, can you hear? Because it sounds
Well,
to me,
I can hear what's going on in the courtroom when we're on the record.
okay, I'm asking though if you can hear myself and my client and my co-counsel talking at the table.
They're live microphones, so to pick up what's going on in here, so when we're on record.
Well, it seems like, one of
Can I
the
just
reasons
slide
I'm
this
telling
over
you
then?
is just to be mindful of it,
Yeah, thank
know,
you. Okay,
you know.
we will be.
yeah. Okay, I'm sure we'll hear more if, okay.
Your Honor, just so the court's aware, the next, oh, sorry,
Oh, we're not on the record, I guess.
sorry.
Are we on the record? We're now on the record, okay. Go ahead. I'm gonna bring the jury in.
Your
Next witness is Cammy Back, exhibits 24 through 30.
Cammy,
And Your Honor, just for the record, I just wanted to place in the record to make it easier. The defense has no objection to exhibits 24 through 30.
okay,
I know the court will check with me, but I just want you to.
okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're bringing Cammy back. Well, I guess we might want to bring the jury in before we do that, right?
We'll make sure.
All rise for the jury.
be seated. Request for vacancy next witness.
Thank you, Ms. Cammy Back.
Good morning. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear to affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
And you can be seated, and then would you state your name for the record and spell your first and last name?
Cammy Back,
And spell your first and last name, please.
CAMMYBACK.
Go ahead, prosecutor.
Thank you. Ms. Back, I'm gonna ask you to keep your voice nice and loud for me, okay?
Okay,
Now, is it true, miss, that you work at a retail store that sells firearms?
yes,
And that's in Oxford, Michigan?
yes,
Okay. How long have you worked there?
4 years.
What's your current title?
Office manager?
Have you always been the office manager?
No,
As office manager, do you assist with gun sales?
yes, I do.
Okay. And what did you do before you became the office manager?
I was a counter.
I'm sorry?
I worked the counter,
Okay, the counter?
yes,
Okay, so you would deal with customers?
yes,
And you're familiar with the procedure when someone purchases a firearm?
yes,
Now, there is a specific process when somebody purchases a handgun, is that correct?
yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about that, please?
So when you come in to purchase a firearm, whether it's a handgun or a long gun, we have to have your ID. You have to fill out a 4473.
What's that?
It's a federal firearms form for the
Okay.
customer. Once that is done, myself or whoever will run a NICS check on the computer.
Okay, can you tell us what that is?
That is where you send it over to, I just lost my train of thought. To the FBI, and then they take it from there.
Okay, do you know what happens with that when you
I
send
do
it to
not.
the FBI? All right.
Nope.
So you take this information in and the customer fills out certain forms and you send that off?
Yes.
Okay, and how long does that process usually take?
Sometimes it could take seconds, sometimes it could take up to 30 minutes
Okay.
or longer.
Is someone able to walk in and buy a firearm, or to buy a firearm and walk out with that gun purchase that day?
As long as they pass the background check,
As long as everything checks out?
yes.
Now, what happens if things don't check out, or if there's some kind of delay? Does that ever happen?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that.
So, if a customer is delayed, we are giving them a Brady date, which is 5 days. Within those 5 days, the NICS check could come back as a proceed, or it could come back as a denied. After 5 days, if there's no response, then we are allowed to hand the firearm over to the customer.
Okay. Do you know the circumstances in the background why somebody might be approved or denied?
I do not.
Okay. Now, when the store you work at sells a firearm, do you also provide a ATF pamphlet on handgun safety?
Yes,
Is that with every handgun purchase?
with every handgun, yes.
Okay. And tell me about that pamphlet, please. What kind of information is contained in there?
It just states, the do's and the don'ts, as far as, you know, when you buy a firearm, child safety, how to lock it, just to pretty much keep your firearm safe and out of the hands of, you know, anyone that doesn't need to have it.
Okay. And that is provided by the ATF?
Yes,
Okay. That's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms?
yes,
Does your store also provide a trigger lock safe?
yes,
Okay. And is that one of the standard forms that has to come with the firearms purchase?
yes.
Can you tell me what that is, please?
So it just, the trigger lock form, we take and we make sure we check the box, that it has the lock in the box, and that it has a box that can be locked,
Okay. Now you say the lock in the box. What do you mean by that?
the trigger lock.
Okay, so when your store sells a firearm, you also provide a lock with it.
Yes,
Okay. And that's not an actual gun safe, correct? That's a smaller locking device.
yes,
All right. And that happens with every handgun sale from your store?
yes,
I'd like to direct your attention to November the 26th of 2021. Do you remember that day?
I did.
Okay. And were you working?
Yes, I was.
Did you, well, first of all, I should ask you, as office manager and someone who's been employed at the store for 4 years, every time a firearm is sold, is there a receipt kept?
Yes,
Okay. On November the 26th, 2021, did you sell a handgun to James Crumbley?
I did.
Okay. And was he there with somebody else during that purchase?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Was it an adult or was it a teenager?
Teenager.
Okay. Did you come to learn who that person was?
Later, yes.
Okay. And you came to learn that it was the defendant's 15-year-old son?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you didn't know that at the time?
No, I did not.
Okay. Now, during the purchase between yourself and James Crumbley, did his son do anything?
Never.
Okay, so he was there, present, but he didn't interact with you.
No.
I'd like to direct your attention also to June the 15th, 2021. Did James Crumbley make another purchase of a firearm that day?
That I cannot say.
Okay. If I showed you receipts, would that refresh your memory, you think?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is go through some exhibits with you. They'll be on the screen in front of you. These are all stipulated too. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. This is exhibit 24. This is, do you recognize this as a receipt from the store you work at?
Yes.
Okay. This is June the 15th, 2021. Do you see the date?
Yes.
All right. And the purchaser is James Robert Crumbley,
Yes.
and it has his address, and it has the item purchase, and that's a Cobra Classic for $180 total.
Yes.
And that's actually a 22 Derringer pistol, is that correct?
Yes.
24 has been admitted, I believe, with stipulation.
I believe that Ms. Smith was willing to stipulate to 24 through 30, is that accurate?
That's correct.
24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 are admitted, so.
Thank you, Jen. This is exhibit 25 right here. It says pistol sales record. Can you tell us about that, please?
So each time that a pistol is sold, we have to provide the customer with a pistol record. They are given those and they are instructed to have those dropped within 10 days of the purchase.
Okay. Now, this has a description of the pistol, is that right?
Yes.
So it says, this is a Cobra Classic. We just saw the receipt for. Do you see that on there?
Yes.
Okay, and it says pistol shot in the number 2. What does that mean?
It's a 2-shot.
Okay, so it's a small handgun
Yes.
and barrel length 2.25. Is that in inches?
Yes.
Okay. It says purchase transfer date is June the 16th of 2021, whereas the receipt was June the 15th, 2021. Can you tell us what happened there?
So I believe that Mr. Crumbley may have gotten a delay on June 15th, and he had a proceed either later in the day on June 15th, or he may have gotten a proceed early morning on June 16th.
Okay, and that's because there's some kind of delay in the background information?
Yes.
Ms. Back, is it true that some handguns sold by the store actually come with their own cable locks, not just from the retailer themselves?
Yes.
Okay, so whereas on November the 26th, you provided a lock, not every handgun has to be provided a lock by your store.
Yes,
Because
it
the-
does.
Because the manufacturer gives a lock themselves.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't think that was clear, so I just wanted to back up for a second.
So some guns that come in from the manufacturer do not provide locks. We
Okay.
have to provide those.
Got it.
Sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. No,
Okay.
that's my fault, not yours. The 6 Hour, for example, they do not provide their own locks, is that right?
Some they do, some they do not.
Okay, and if they don't, then you would fill in that gap.
Yes.
All right. This is exhibit 26. This is a receipt, James Robert Crumbley, June the 16th. And this is the Caltech P17 22 LR, total price $349. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, this is exhibit 26. And again, this is June the 16th. That's the day that he would have received the Derringer. Would that be
Yes.
right? Okay. And here's exhibit 27, which is the actual pistol sales record And again, purchase transfer date, June 17th of 21. So there was a delay in this purchase as well?
Yes,
Okay. And this description is, it's a 16 shot, barrel length is 3.8 inches.
yes,
So it's bigger than the Derringer.
yes.
Okay. Now moving on to Exhibit 28. This is from November the 26th of 21, the date we've already spoke of. So this is a receipt, total of $519.35. And again, James Robert Crumbley, is that right?
Yes,
Okay. And this is the day you recall seeing somebody with him,
yes,
his son, okay. Do you recall if his son was with him in June, or did you not complete that purchase?
I did not complete that purchase.
Okay, that's fair. But as office manager, you can tell us that those records are from your store.
Yes,
Here's Exhibit 29. This is the pistol sales record. And this is from the Sig Sauer on November 26th, is that right?
yes,
Okay, so this is a 15 shot and it's 3.75 inch barrel.
yes,
Is that right? Okay. And he walked out with that gun on November the 26th, 2021? Because that's the date that we have right there?
yes.
Okay. Now, hypothetically speaking, if there was a 15-year-old who walked in your store and tried to buy a handgun, would you let him?
Absolutely not.
Okay, that would be illegal, right?
Yes.
Okay. Here's Exhibit 30. This is a portion of the firearms transaction record. I think you referred to it as a 4473. Do you recognize this?
Yes,
Okay. And was this provided, this was filled out by James Crumbley?
yes.
Okay. And what's the purpose of this form here?
That is to keep a record for ATF for all firearms that are sold.
So there's certain boxes are checked here, and the condition of the gun is notified. In this case, it was used.
Yes,
Okay. And the purchaser has to assert certain things before he can walk out with that gun. Is that right?
yes,
And one of those boxes are you the actual transferee or you are the actual buyer of the gun and it's not for somebody else?
Right.
Because it is not legal for someone to buy a gun for somebody else through your store, correct?
no, it is.
Well, that person has to come in and fill out this paperwork, that is right?
Yes,
Right. So it would not be legal for a adult, for example, to check this box that the gun is for himself and then transfer it to a child.
yes.
Can you tell us the difference between a cable lock and a trigger lock?
So a cable lock, you have to take the slide off of the pistol and run the cable through the barrel and bring it out and to lock. Trigger lock goes directly on the trigger.
Okay. And do you recall it was provided to James Crumbley on November the 26th?
I believe it was a cable lock.
A cable lock, okay, so it looks like a rope.
Yes,
And then at the end of the rope, there is a locking mechanism,
yes,
and then that's fastened by a key, would that be right?
correct, yes.
There's some firearms that can't be secured with the cable lock versus trigger lock, or is it unique to certain guns that you need one versus the other?
I don't believe so.
Does your store always provide either a cable lock or trigger lock, or does it depend?
We provide both,
Both, okay.
yes,
But on this particular occasion, on November of 2021, it was a cable lock.
it was a cable lock, yes.
I have nothing further. Oh, hang on one second. Sorry. Thank you, Judge. Nothing further.
Cross. Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to go back through the exhibits. Would it be easiest if I had the prosecution go back through them if I ask, or is it easier if I just transfer it to my laptop? Okay, I can use these. Okay. Can you put up exhibit number 24, please? Just so that the jury can see it. And if you want, I can put it on my computer, I have them.
Because we have another flash drive, don't we, that we provided to the department?
I have them on my computer, do you want me to take the reins and use my laptop?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, we just need to switch this over then.
Okay.
Hit that button, and then I've gotta plug in my. Here's the plug out. Alright, and I'm just gonna pull up the exhibits on the laptop while Mr. Godwin plugs it in. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Smith and I represent Mrs. Crumbley. I'm gonna ask a couple of questions, and if I ask anything confusing, can you please just slow me down and let me know?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. It's not my job to confuse you, I wanna make sure you understand each question I ask.
Okay.
The first exhibit the prosecution showed, Exhibit 24, which was admitted, is a receipt for a Derringer gun. And I just wanna be clear, that Derringer gun was purchased by James Crumbley, correct?
I cannot say.
If you look at the receipt,
By the receipt, yes.
okay, so by the receipt, it indicates James Crumbley purchased the weapon.
Mhm.
And
Is that
it's,
yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
and it's fair to say that Jennifer Crumbley's name does not appear anywhere on that receipt.
No.
Okay. We talked about Exhibit 25, the pistol sales record. And this was the pistol that was bought back in June of 2021. On this receipt, or I'm sorry, on this pistol sales record, James Crumbley is the person who purchased this pistol. Is that correct?
Yes.
Jennifer Crumbley's name does not appear anywhere on this pistol sales receipt, correct? I'm sorry?
No.
Thank you. All right, Exhibit 26 was admitted. This is a receipt from a Kel-Tec gun that was purchased, correct?
Yes.
And again, on this receipt, it indicates that James Robert Crumbley purchased the gun,
Yes.
and Jennifer Crumbley's name does not appear anywhere on that receipt.
No.
All right, I'm turning to Exhibit 27, which was admitted. This is the pistol sales receipt from the Kel-Tec that we just talked about in the prior receipt. I'm sorry, this is the sales record. The sales record indicates James Crumbley bought this gun,
Yes.
okay? And Jennifer Crumbley's name is not listed as the purchaser, or she's not anywhere on this record, correct?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to number 28, which has been admitted. This is the receipt from the Sig Sauer that was purchased in November of 2021, correct?
Yes.
You have a direct memory of the purchase on this Sig Sauer gun, correct?
Yes.
And on this receipt, this gun was purchased by James Crumbley, correct?
Yes.
The receipt does not have Jennifer Crumbley's name.
No.
And when this gun was purchased, James Crumbley was accompanied by a teenage boy and no one else, correct?
Correct.
And you were testifying that you didn't have any interactions with the teenage boy who was with Mr. Crumbley.
Correct.
And when you saw this teenage boy with Mr. Crumbley, there was nothing about him that stood out to you as unusual or weird or something that would have raised concern about selling the gun to James Crumbley with his son, correct? No. I'm sorry, the court's making a record, so it's really important we talk one at a time. I'm not trying to cut you off in any way. I just need to make sure the record's really clear.
Sure.
So I'm just gonna re-ask, and I'm doing it just to have a clear record. When you saw Ethan Crumbley with Mr. Crumbley buying the gun, there was nothing about him that concerned you about selling the weapon to Mr. Crumbley, correct?
Correct.
And on that date, you vividly remember it was only the two of them at the gun store purchasing that weapon, correct?
Correct.
And again, on Exhibit 29, this is the pistol sales receipt. Jennifer Crumbley's name does not appear anywhere on the pistol sales receipt, correct?
Correct.
And I'm gonna open Exhibit 30, which has been admitted. This is the firearms transaction receipt. This is specific to the November gun that was purchased, the Sig Sauer, correct?
Yes.
And on this form, James Crumbley is the only adult that filled out this form, correct?
Yes.
Jennifer Crumbley's name does not appear anywhere on this form.
No.
And the information provided was all provided by James Crumbley, correct?
Correct.
And you cannot sell a weapon to a 15-year-old who walks into your store if they came in and wanted to buy a gun, correct?
Correct.
And if you don't know the answers to these questions, I can ask someone else, but I'm gonna ask you, when a parent buys a gun, a parent has a right to take their child to a shooting range, correct?
Yes.
A parent has a right to take their child hunting, correct?
Yes.
A parent has a right, when they own a gun, to allow their child to use the gun at things like a gun range or hunting or along those lines, correct?
Yes.
You testified that with the Sig Sauer gun, it did not come from the manufacturer with a lock, correct? A cable lock.
That was a used gun.
Okay, so the used gun did not come with a cable lock in the case, correct?
It may have.
If it didn't, you provided a cable lock
Yes.
to that gun.
Yes.
And in order to take a cable lock off a gun, you have to use a key, correct?
Yes.
And the key is, it's not just any key, it's a key specific to that cable lock, correct?
Yes.
And in Michigan, there is no, as far as you know, and if you don't know, you can tell me and I can ask another witness, there is no requirement that a person has to store a gun in a safe, correct?
Judge, I'm gonna object, that's calling for legal conclusion.
Well, it is. It is calling for legal conclusion, isn't it? I'm assuming you guys could stipulate to that at some point, but.
Either way, it's not appropriate for this.
Or, yeah.
Okay, we'll
Yes,
take
the
care of
police
that later.
officer, Yeah.
Okay. When you sell guns to people at your store, you also, you're not required to also sell them a safe for that gun, correct?
Correct.
As a precaution, if it does not come with a cable lock, you make sure that every gun that leaves your store is sent out with a cable lock if one can be put on that gun, correct?
Cable lock or trigger lock?
Or trigger lock?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. There is not any time that you recall seeing Mrs. Crumbley at the store looking at guns, considering buying a gun, anything along those lines, correct?
Correct.
And of course, I don't expect your memory's perfect. I'm just asking by recollection, you don't recall that Mrs. Crumbley was in there.
She was not, no.
It's also not illegal for a father to bring children in or a teenager in with them to purchase a weapon, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Crumbley is not the only person who has ever been in the store purchasing a weapon with minors present, correct?
Correct.
And there is nothing that when you come to the door of the store that says minors cannot enter the store or look at what you have in terms of your stock, correct?
Correct.
May I have just a minute?
Sure.
I have no further questions, thank you.
Just very briefly.
Okay.
Ms. Back, I'm just gonna clear a few things up. I'm afraid I wasn't terribly clear with some
Sure.
things. First of all, after the shooting in Oxford High School, agents from the ATF, they came and spoke with you, would that be right?
Yes.
Okay. And ATF, that's the government agency that sort of regulates the finance or the firearms transactions.
Yes.
Okay, at least to your understanding.
Yes.
Okay. And when you, well, first of all, let me ask you this. Do you recall on November the 26th when that Sig Sauer was sold to James Crumbley, if he shopped around at all or if he went right to that gun?
He went right to that gun
And did he make any statements about that?
that he had his eye
Your
on
Honor,
for some time.
I would object to the hearsay of the co-defendant who's not present in this trial.
Isn't it?
It's not obvious of the truth of the matter, sir. The judge just offered to show that he went right for that gun.
Well, I guess he asked whether or not he looked around. Right? He didn't look at anything else.
No, ma'am.
Thank you, Judge. And were you able to tell if that transaction for the Sig Sauer on 11/26/21 was for cash or for credit?
It was cash.
Cash, okay. And you did that by comparing the receipts on November the 26th, and there are no credit or check transactions that they made in the amount of $519.35.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Justice Griffith.
Can I ask you, there's also an Exhibit 31 and put this.
Oh, that's gonna come through Agent Brandon.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you didn't have to bring this witness back. I'm gonna excuse her, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, you can step down and you're excused. Thank you. Your lunch is here. Okay, the fact that we're providing lunch doesn't mean that you can't leave the building or go out to your car and do things like that. I want to avoid any interactions in the cafeteria that could impact you. I don't want people talking to you, and I just want you to feel comfortable. All right. So your lunch is in the cafeteria. That's an hour. We'll come back at about, if you can return to the jury room at 10:01, your lunches are in the jury room. Don't discuss the case with anybody, don't do any research, don't go on Facebook, don't read any news on your phone or computer or otherwise. And don't discuss the case with anybody. And we'll be back at about 10:01. Okay?
All right, for the jury.
Okay, anybody, anything? Really? Okay, you're gonna take her down, we're gonna watch the door.
Recording stopped.